My name is Jim Jepson with the U of A Cooperative Extension Service, Pinal County, and today we are going to be talking about Brussels sprouts, harvesting, and eventually cooking the Brussels sprouts. But we're here at the county complex in Pinal County in Casa Grande, Arizona, and what we have basically left in our garden are some different Brussels sprouts plants. And for those of you who have never seen Brussels sprouts in their full form, this is what it looks like. I think most of us always see Brussels sprouts in a grocery store, which is more or less like this. But just to tell you a little bit about Brussels sprouts are akin to cabbage, red and green. They are akin to collards, kale, cauliflower, broccoli, all that good stuff. And Brussels sprouts and all of those other plants that I told you about belong to basically sort of a family name of cole crops. And you might think of cold crops because they grow in the wintertime. They grow in cool seasons, so that's when they want to grow. So all of them have edible leaves and fruits and flowers at different times during their growing habit. So anyway, what I want to do is I'm going to just show you how we're going to harvest this one big plant right here, which they are quite large, as you can see. And I'm having to use, they do this different in the field, but for home gardening, I'm just going to use these clippers. We're going to go right down here. I'm going to push the plant over and give a cut. I probably should have had this cut before. And here it is. Here's the plant right here, the entire cauliflower, all right? So with leaves intact. But what I want to show you is that whenever we see cauliflower, we pretty much see it without any leaves, or as I had shown you, just like this, where they're all pulled off the stem. But I've actually created a look here of the Brussels sprouts growing on the stalk. Basically what Brussels sprouts are little buds. And what you're going to see on here is you're going to see little gray things. Let me pull one of these off of here. These have been here for quite some time. But there's little gray things on the Brussels sprouts. And unfortunately, because we've had a cool winter, it did not kill the insects. So we have aphids. And aphids belong to an insect order called Homoptera, which is also akin to like cicadas and leafhoppers, that kind of thing. But what they do is they've got a piercing, sucking mouth part, which goes into the leaf and or the Brussels sprout itself, and then it sucks all the juice out of it. And it can cause really a lot of damage, as you can see right here with the Brussels sprouts. So see, we really don't want to eat that. So usually harvest is a little sooner than now. This is the way it is, unfortunately, because of the insect problem. But anyhow, then here's one that I've cleaned up for you. And as you can see, all the way around are these little buds. And these are the actual Brussels sprouts. And when you take them off the plant itself, off the stalk, as you can see, it's the little bud. And they grow right under the leaves, like you can see. There's a Brussels sprout under each leaf. These are where they're little tiny things, but I've cut the leaves off. But each one of these Brussels sprouts goes right under the petiole or the stem of the leaf of the plant. And basically, there it is. This is a beautiful little Brussels sprout. It's got a little bit of damage here, but for the most part, not too much. Okay? So I don't recommend that you would cook all this, the whole stem, but something that I would do, and this is something that I tried. It's sort of like those people that want to take a chance. Is like I said before, with all cole crops, you can eat the flowers, the leaves, a little bit of the stem, but when these things are fresh, they really crack and they break. And these nice fresh leaves up at the top, which actually are undamaged from the aphids, they're great steamed. Like as if you would do steamed cabbage, or if you would cook kale, or if you would do collards, that kind of thing. These are really great. You can roast them, steam them, saute them, whatever you want to do with them. They're really good. So the other thing also with the Brussels sprouts, we can steam them, you can roast them. There's so many different recipes that you can use for Brussels sprouts and most any other cole crops. So We'll probably be graduating from outside to inside after a while, and then we're going to be doing one of the Arizona Health Zone's SNAP-friendly, healthy recipes to show you what you can do with Brussels sprouts. Okay, we've moved from the garden setting of harvesting our Brussels sprouts this morning into our demonstration kitchen, and today we are going to be creating a dish called tangy Brussels sprouts using what we just harvested. Some simple little ingredients. We're going to have Brussels sprouts, sugar, garlic, onion, vinegar, and virtually that's it. So what I want to do though real quick is to start with our Brussels sprouts. These are what we got this morning. These are just fresh Brussels sprouts right off the stalk. All right. And so you basically have to clean them, and you're going to be trimming. You're going to take a paring knife and just trim them off just like this, and then you start to remove the outer leaves. These are some that are all raw, and these are just some that I've started to remove the leaves. And as you can see, you have dirt and maybe a few insects from, we were talking about aphids earlier, that might be in there, and you want to make sure that all of those get washed off, especially due to the fact that sand can get in there and can get really deep into the Brussels sprout as it's growing. So once you've cleaned your Brussels sprouts, you have a really beautiful little sprout just like this. If you don't like the woody part, you can also trim that off. So what our recipe calls for is about 3 cups of Brussels sprouts, and we want to cook them. We want to boil them first. So we've got these going right here. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Brussels sprouts, the 3 cups, and I'm going to drain them out for right now. All right, and we'll get back to that one in just a second. And so we've got our cooked Brussels sprouts. Then I've also started preparing our onion. It calls for 1 medium onion. Basically, I'd say this is medium. I don't think you can ever get too much onion in there. So I've got my knife, and I'm safely cutting off the ends, holding my hand in a claw position so I don't cut myself. I want to peel off this outer edge, because we certainly don't want that. And as you can see, I've prepared the other half, but I'm just showing you how I go about cutting up an onion. And I just basically go at it like this, making sure I don't get my fingers in the way. And then we have chop our onion up like this. It's chopped virtually, that's it right there. And we'll put it in with the rest. Then also, it calls for 2 teaspoons of garlic. And what I did was I measured out some teaspoons, a little bit of, actually 1.5 teaspoons of garlic. And I'm going to put that in there with our onion. And then also what I'm going to do is, yesterday we harvested some fresh garlic out of one of our gardens, and we have a nice clove here, which basically I'm going to crush and chop it up just really, really fine. Just like the stuff out of the jar, because virtually the stuff in the jar is raw too. So it's a little bit of that onion from before, and we'll put that in there. Then our garlic and our onion goes into our pan, which is already heating, with 1 tablespoon of oil, which I've already put into it, but that's just for the frying effect. It's best to use a non-stick pan if you can do that. So here we are. We're going to throw these in there for about 5 minutes. It is on high, and we'll watch and see how these go. And in the meantime, for a little bit of our flavor that we're going to put on here is, it calls for 1/3 of a cup of white vinegar, which I've already measured, and it calls for just let me make sure, I've got 1 tablespoon of white sugar. I actually have light brown sugar here, which is not processed sugar, which I kind of think is a little bit healthier, but you know, that you could do that as an option if you want. So what we're going to do is we are going to put our sugar into the vinegar, and I'll just go ahead and use this tablespoon here. We're going to dissolve that sugar in there and let that sit for a minute. In the meantime, we're going to saute our garlic and our onions. This still has to go for about 2 minutes. All right, now that we've cooked these for about the 2 minutes or a little bit more, I'm going to add our Brussels sprouts. And actually, I want to see how well I measured, so I'm going to put it right back into the measuring cup. And not bad, 3 cups. So there we go. Now I'm going to add these since they're already hot. They'll just keep cooking right along with the onions and the garlic. I did wash my hands thoroughly before I started this, which is what we should do with everything. Every time you want to cook, you want to make sure your hands are washed. Let that cook for just a minute. Same way you do it. All right. You end up putting salt and pepper in yours.
Actually, I've never done I've changed it to use apple cider vinegar, which makes it changes the sweetness content a little bit.
Yeah.
But I've never had to add salt and pepper.
All right, here we go with our sugar and our vinegar. I'm actually going to turn that down.
So get too close to stuff like that.
All right. Does smell good.
Yeah.
Oops. All right, we want to toss the onion. We want to toss all the Brussels sprouts to make sure that that vinegar and sugar flavor gets all the way through. And we'll just cook it down just a little bit more. And there you have it. Enjoy it.